Hello students, today we are going to discuss Unit 3 as per the syllabus of BSc Nursing Semester 7, and the unit name is Research Approaches and Research Design. Okay, so let's talk about the learning objective for this session. We'll try to understand the concept of research approaches. Then we'll enumerate the various type of research approaches. We also will try to see the features of qualitative and quantitative and mixed method approaches, which are three basic types, and what are the characteristics of a good research design. And we also will try to explore or explain the factors affecting the choice of research design. Now, what is research approach? So research approach is a plan that consists the steps of broad assumptions to detailed method of data collection, analysis and interpretation. It is therefore based on the nature of the research problem being addressed. So what exactly the research approach is? Research approach is nothing, it's a series of steps that you take to get an answer of your research problem. It's an overall underpinning of your research study. Okay, like in an introductory session, we have discussed about the different paradigms. Paradigm means perspective. Okay, in that we have discussed there is a quantitative and qualitative paradigms. Now, quantitative paradigms that talks about the research approaches of numerical data, whereas qualitative paradigms like constructivism that talks about the narrative form of the data. Research approach is an overall underpinning of that. It is something that provides you the decision making guidelines to solve the problems or to meet the objective which you might have set in the beginning of your research process. When you talk about the research approaches, there are different types of approaches we have. We can classify them based on data collection or based on data analysis and the reasoning. Usually we follow the based on the data collection. Now, based on the data collection, we have a quantitative types, qualitative and mixed method. Okay, quantitative that follow the positivist paradigm, that follow the positivist paradigm, qualitative that follow the constructivist paradigm. Mixed method for the pragmatism. Okay, pragmatize. Okay, they mix both qualitative and quantitative. Based on the data analysis, reasoning, we can have inductive approaches, usually qualitative, and deductive, that is a quantitative. Okay, so overall we can say we can classify the research approaches as quantitative, qualitative and mixed. Okay, let's discuss these in detail. Now, first you talk about the quantitative approaches. So what are the foundational characteristics of quantitative approach? One, they have a structured data collection. So the use of standardized method together consists of reliable data. Data means information. Data means information. Okay, and when you adopt the structured, what do you mean by the structured? Structured means something is pre-planned. Okay, something is planned, something is that have advanced planning. Okay, so whenever you want to collect the information, for that you get an answer of like what information is required, from whom it is required, how the information would be collected. Everything is planned, so it's a more structured. Second is they are positivist. Second feature of quantitative research approach is they are positivist. What is positivist paradigm? They believe in a principle of science. Simply you can say, they are science. Positivist paradigm talks about the science. Now, philosophical foundation of quantitative research emphasis on the objectivity and empirical evidences. Now, what science believes? Science is based on what? Observable facts. Science based on the objectivity. They always want to collect the information without being biased, without having any influence of the data collector or any other factors. Okay, So quantitative researchers believe that the research inquiry should be objective. Okay, it should be free from any kind of influence or bias. It should not be contextual. It should not be influenced by the personal characteristics of the researcher. Okay, so that is completely, they believe in a single reality. And mainly positivist paradigm, what they says reality must be tangible, empirical, single, and which can be verified or transferred or shared. So they believe in that inquiry. So quantitative approaches believe in that. Okay. So next is they believe in they just focus on the numerical data only. Like for example, you want to study the prevalence of tuberculosis in that area. It's an example of a quantitative approach. Or you want to study the effectiveness of a particular intervention, then again you go for that. So they use the numbers to represent the analysis of the findings. Okay, so they are numerical. Then the generalizability, the ability to apply research result to a broader population. The aim of quantitative approaches is to generalize, means results stand true over variation in setting, sample. Okay, so that is what we call implications. Like as we know that science believe in that single reality. What gravitation exists here in Chandigarh would have the same gravitation at any other part of the world or earth. Okay, so that is about the generalizability. So it is used to quantify the study constructs such as attitude, opinion, behavior and other defined variables. So that's about some of the important features of qualitative approaches. Now, second is a qualitative approach. Okay, this is a qualitative approach. Qualitative. Okay, so it is concerned with the qualitative phenomena. The aim is to develop an in-depth understanding of the phenomena. Qualitative data collection strategy they use, and unstructured or semi-structured techniques are the most common techniques for qualitative approach. Now, what is qualitative approach? They believe in the constructivist paradigm. Constructivist means they believe in a social science paradigm. They believe in what is reality? Reality is multiple. Okay, reality is contextual. Reality is constructed. Okay, and they believe in subjectivity. Okay, so if somebody is having a qualitative approaches, it is more like in-depth understanding of a phenomena. And to understand something in depth, you need to have a close association or relation with the informant or from the subjects. So that is why they are more subjective. Here the researcher use their own wisdom or understanding to have a liaising with the subjects. Okay, and they are always considered in the context. They are constructed, that's why they are very subjective, and multiple reality. What is real for you may not be the real for me. Okay, so different reality which are constructed or surrounded to an individual. So that kind of inquiry is a qualitative approaches. Okay, so you can refer my earlier lectures where you can see the qualitative and quantitative researches with its paradigm. So in qualitative researches, we have a qualitative phenomena, in-depth understanding, data collection methods. As I told you, they have a very flexible approach. Whenever you want to study something in depth, you cannot go with a pre-hand plan. Sometimes you have to change your plan accordingly. Let me give an example. If suppose you decided to interview somebody by asking 6 or 7 questions that you expect to complete in 5 to 10 minutes. But as you have started conversation with the patient or a person, he is providing you more information. So that the planning for your interview, the duration of your interview which you plan for 10 minutes or 15 minutes may last for an hour. Okay, so we use an unstructured data collection strategy or sometimes semi-structured. Okay, so that's already I told you. For instance, when we are interested in investigating the reason for human behavior, why people think or do certain things, we quite often talk of qualitative researches as it is important type of this one. Now, another important type research approach is a mixed method approach. So what this figure says here, what is mixed method approach? Integrated multifaceted research. What we do here, we adapt the feature of qualitative as well as the quantitative research in that. Okay, they believe in a principle of utility, and the people who support mixed method approach having this argument that none of these inquiries, either qualitative or quantitative, can conduct the inquiry alone. If you really want to complement, okay, they are not separated. They are not separated. They complement each other. Okay, so that is what we call a mixed method approach, where what you do in a mixed method approach, the features of qualitative and quantitative researches are somewhere integrated, maybe while designing your study or data collection or during the analysis phase. So different types of mixed method designs we are going to discuss in subsequent slides. If you look at the comparison between this qualitative, quantitative and mixed method at a glance, you can see the area. Philosophical assumption for qualitative, they believe in a constructivism, which already I told you, they believe in a social science, whereas quantitative focus on the principle of science. Okay, so physical sciences, and they're pragmatic. Pragmatic means they are based on utility principle. Whatever is suitable for me to conduct an inquiry, I'll go for that. What are the common designs with the qualitative? We have phenomenal, grounded theory, ethnographic, case study and historical, whereas here for quantitative we have experimental and non-experimental. And mixed methods we have a three major. There could be another classification, but I have taken this is sequential, concurrent, transformationals. Okay, there are many more. If you look compare on in terms of purposes, the purpose of qualitative research to generate the knowledge, primarily that become a base for testing of hypothesis, whereas quantitative research tastes the knowledge which you generate from the qualitative research. Okay, and what the mixed method does, they supplement or complement the knowledge. Okay, so this is the approach. If you compare in terms of methods, usually for qualitative research, unstructured data collection, they use in-depth interviews, unstructured observation and emerging approaches. All these things we are going to discuss in subsequent lectures. Whereas it's more structured for quantitative, okay, all the things, predetermined approach we use. And here in a mixed method, we go for a data triangulation. What is that triangulation? When you mix the multiple method of collecting the information. Like for example, I just interview somebody and I also made an observation on the same phenomenon for the same thing. Okay, so mixing more than two approaches. Okay, just collecting the data. Both structured and unstructured data collection strategies, they are emerging. That's why mixed method approaches or qualitative approaches are emergent actually, basically. Okay, so if you compare in terms of level of data, normally it's a narrative data for qualitative, and numerical data we use for quantitative, all in numbers. Okay, and here we can use the both type as mixed method approach. Analysis wise, it's a qualitative. For qualitative, we just do the thematic analysis. Okay, we just try to read the narrations and try to understand the themes from the given text. Okay, and the approach is an inductive approach. Okay, we just make individual observation and finally we generate the knowledge. So inductive process is only the one that used to generate the knowledge, and here they use the quantitative or statistical analysis and they use the deductive approach. Means whatever your you have formulated based on your inductive process, you try to apply that in a specific situation, means testing the hypothesis, whereas we use both inductive and deductive approach for the mixed method. So that is all about your first part, that is the research approaches. Okay, in that we have discussed three: qualitative, quantitative and mixed method. Now another important topic that we are going to discuss now is a research design. Research design is an overall plan for obtaining answer to a research question or for testing the research hypothesis. Okay, please remember this, it is a blueprint. Like when you plan to make your building, the first thing what you do, you make a blueprint for that. So on a paper you design everything. Okay, so it is something like that. It's a blueprint for conducting the study that maximize the control over the factors that could interfere with the validity of findings. So yes, it is an overall map or a blueprint where what you do, as you know that whenever you have a inquiry that inquiry is being influenced by n number of factors. Like for example, I just want to see the effect of an intervention on body weight. Okay. No, it's intervention like exercise. Now exercise is one variable and weight is another variable. But so exercise will have some impact on the body weight. But other than exercise, what else can influence? Maybe your genetics, maybe your age, okay, maybe your interest, maybe what kind of exercises you are doing. So all these factors which deliberately you want to control because you assume that these may have effect on the body weight. So or maybe the diet. So whenever you talk about a research design is an overall blueprint which has an ultimate aim to provide you internally valid results. Whenever you look at the result should only and only because of the intervention or your independent variable. Okay, and when you talk about the other research designs, like this is especially in a context of experimental design, but what about other designs? Like if you talk about the qualitative research design, overall every design should control the influence of extraneous variables. The research design guide the researcher in planning and implementing the study in a way that most likely to achieve the intended results. Okay, that's the ultimate purpose of this. The control provided by the design increase the probability that the study results are accurate and reflecting the reality. Because end of the research, as a researcher, your ultimate aim to find the reality which is more objective and free from any influence. This is what research design do for you. Okay, so whenever you adopt a there are n number of research design, numerous research designs are available. So according to your research statement and the paradigm that you follow, you select the best design to minimize the control of such influences. That's a research design. If you look at the definition here, so research design, the second one, the research design is a blueprint for conducting the study with the maximum control over the factors that may interfere with the validity of the findings. We'll discuss that. So already I've told you the ultimate purpose of any research design is to have a control over the extraneous variables. As I'll give an example, like if you are checking the effect of exercise on your body weight, so there could be other things like genetics that can have effect on your body weight, or there could be many more factors, so you have to control that. Research design is a researcher overall plan for answering the research question or testing the research hypothesis. Another definition, a research design is an arrangement of the condition for collection of an analysis of the data in a manner that aims to combine the relevance to the research purpose in a very economical manner. Now, what are the characteristics of a good research design? So till now it is clear what is research design. It is a blueprint. So, and there are various research designs are available. You have to select best that fit to your research problem. So for that we need to understand what are the characteristics of a good research design. So first is appropriate for the research question. As I said, there are various research design. You have to find the best research design available to you. Let's understand this with one example. Suppose you are conducting an experiment, and in that experiment you have taken a 20 premature infants, okay, 20 in experimental group, 20 in experimental group and 20 in a control group, premature infants, premature. Okay. Now, one group has received a tactile stimulation for 3 months, another group received the routine care, and after 3 months again they were observed, these 20 they were observed. What we observed? They observed the weight, and let's assume that the weight of was 1.8 kg for control group and 1.8 kg, let's say similar for the experimental group. After 3 months their weight become 2.4 kgs, and here the weight is 2.1 kgs. Now let's just see, even without intervention, even without giving the stimulation program, these children, this infant weight which was 1.8 kg at the baseline has increased to 2.1 kg. Why this increment in the weight? That's because of the maturation, or what we call it, time. Because 3-month time, that is a natural growth, is a natural phenomenon, it will take place. Whereas in the first group, where we have provided the tactile stimulation along with the routine care, their weight increased significantly. So it is a 1.8 to 2.4 versus 1.8 to 2.1. So as you can see, in the first group, the weight has increased more as compared to the second group. If in the same example, if I go in the same example, if suppose I have taken only one group of 20 infant having a weight at baseline is 1.8 kgs, and after giving a tactile stimulation, their weight is become at 2.4 kgs. So how much increment we can see here? That's around 600 grams. Is this the reality? The answer is no, because this 600 gram is basically composition of two things. One is a time, and second is the intervention or tactile stimulation. So if you adopt this kind of design where only one group is there, to see the effect of the stimulation program will not tell you the exact how much weight got increased and whether this intervention is effective or not. But if you consider the previous example which I told you, having two groups, so research design should be appropriate according to the question. That is the one way. Now, second point is, if suppose you want to study the experience of childhood abuse, can we measure this quantitatively, or do we measure this qualitatively? What is our choice? This kind of research should be done qualitatively. So what kind of design you can adapt largely depend on the research questions we are having. If your research questions are demand to conduct a qualitative research, you should adopt the qualitative design, or otherwise go for the quantitative. Then you select any qualitative or quantitative. Then what else? In a quantitative, whether it's experimental or non-experimental. Like for example, you want to study smoking and cancer relations. Can we do experiment for this? Answer is no, we cannot experiment. We cannot ask people to smoke and see the effect of that. What we can do? We can do the non-experimental. Okay, so please understand that appropriateness of the research question. Second point is a free from bias. Whenever you select a research design, it should be free from bias. Especially it is applicable for quantitative research, especially experimental, like allocation of the subject to the group. Now suppose you are studying something in two groups, and you had experimental group and control group. Now how these group was how people, the participants were allocated in these two groups. Suppose you have taken non-random, then it will be biased. You have taken people who are familiar to you in a group which having more advantage. Okay, so whenever you have that, it should not have any selection bias. Okay, selection bias. You should give a fair chance of each and every one to have an equal chance of being participant in any of the groups. Then precision, appropriateness of the statistical procedure. Whenever you select a research design, you should also see what is the appropriate test and whether this particular test is available to do that. Okay, so it should be that. Then reliability. The good research design should produce the similar result every time. If suppose I am saying after giving a 3-month tactile stimulation increase the body weight, but another study saying no, 3 months is not increasing body weight, another study is saying it's increasing, maybe there is some flaw in your research design. So you have to select the research design which has the power or capability to produce the similar results. And of course, very importantly, your research design should provide you the valid result. Valid result means accuracy, accurate results, true results. Whenever you talk about a research design, it should have the capability to control the influence of outcome influence of extraneous variable on your outcomes. Okay, please understand that. And the last point is generalizability. It should have a wider implication. Okay, so like as you know that if you conduct a study and it is not able to produce the similar results over variation in the population or a setting, then it has a limited generalizability. Okay, so that these are some of the important characteristics that one has to follow while selecting the research design. Now, similar to that, what are the factors that influencing the research design? Okay, now everyone want to select the best design for the research, but it is not the case. Many times, you have many implications, maybe related to the feasibility or financial constraint, resources, and there are many considerations are there. So let's talk about some of these in detail. One thing that influence the research design is the availability of the resources. Okay, so ensuring feasibility with the available tools. Sometimes you want to conduct a research, for that specific tools are not available. Okay, so that is the point. Then nature of the research problem, tailored design to the problem complexity. Like in the previous example, if you really want to see the effect of tactile stimulation on weight after 3 months, then you have to take a design having a control group. That cannot be studied in a single group. Okay, so nature of problem, what kind of problem it is. If I just want to study someone's professionalism, I can just go for the descriptive design. If I want to explore the factors, I can go for exploratory designs. Okay, so all that. Then the purpose of your research. So what exactly the purpose? If your purpose is just to describe, you go for descriptive designs. Purpose is to explore, or purpose is to compare or determine correlation. So already we have discussed the purposes of research. So according to the purpose of research, you have to align your research design, okay, with that. Then ethics. Sometimes ethical approval, like as I said, smoking and cancer. So can we do an experiment on that? Theoretically, though we can do, technically we can do, but ethically it's not possible. Ethically it is wrong, because you cannot ask people in a group to smoke for next 5 to 10 years until it develops some illness, right? So that's the thing. So for that, what is a design? Correlational, that we can have for this. And the last point is a researcher own knowledge. Okay, of course we often talk about that. You just select any design, but you should also see your expertise, your knowledge in that area. Long back, even ethics says you should have an adequate experience to do that intervention or conduct that research. Okay, where you can always have a control over the things. So these are the factors.